In this lecture, we're going to create this slideshow image that you see here. The image dimension for this is 1140 by 500. And the image size is good for viewing on a desktop and also for mobile devices because the design of the theme is responsive. So the original image size I have is 3000 by 2000 pixels. And you can see that here. It says 3000 by 2000 pixels on the lower left corner of the window. And you can open this image file by going to your assets folder. And to open it, all you have to do is go to File and then Open Image and locate that file. So in order to create this final image that you see here, I need to create a new image size in here that's 1140 by 500. And after I've created the new image size, I'm going to drag this layer into the new window and then scale it down. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and go to File and then click New Image. And we want this to be 1140 by 500. And then click OK. Okay, so we have two windows now, right? We have a blank canvas here and then the original image here. And all we have to do is to drag this, click on this layer here, background layer with the small thumbnail that you see here, and then click and hold, okay? And then drag it over to this new window. Okay, and it pasted the layer here, as you can see. Now we have two layers in here, and let's go ahead and delete this background layer here. And you can see here on the right, this layer is actually locked. And to unlock it, just double click on it, on this icon. And we unlock the layer, and then click it, drag it to the trash bin to delete. And let's just rename this background copy by double clicking here. And let's just call it slideshow image. And then just click anywhere. Now to resize this image, you have to go to Edit and then the Free Transform. And you want to grab one of the corner handles here. And while you're dragging it down, as you can see, it's distorting the image again. And you have to press down hold down the Shift key, which will constrain it, right? So scale it down. And after you've done that, let go. And then click and drag inside the square here that you see. Okay, let's drag it up here. And what I want is some negative space on the left, because we want some space for the graphics that you see here. Okay, so I think this is pretty good for what we need. Okay, and let's press Enter. And let's go ahead and create this first square that you see here. So I'm going to select the Marquee tool. And if you start to click and drag, you can see that, it can be difficult to create a perfect square here. The easiest way to do this is, as you see here at the top toolbar, it says Constraint and it says No Restriction. Let's change that to Aspect Ratio. And make sure the width and height is 1:1. And now when you click and drag, it will always be perfect square. So we don't want it to be too big or too small, right? So I think that's pretty good. And let's click and drag in the middle here and over to the right. And yeah, I think that's pretty good right there. Now let's go ahead and create a new layer. And we're gonna call this one Blue Box, because we're going to fill it in with the this blue color that you see. So let's grab the Paint Bucket tool and then click on this Set Main Color here. You see on the bottom? Click on that and let's change to blue. Okay. I think we don't want it to be too light because we want the white text to be readable. I think that's pretty good right there. click OK. And let's click in the middle here, and we fill it in blue. Next, let's go ahead and enter the text. Now, as you can see, it's the 20% off. Now, 20 is different size compared to the percentage sign and then the off. So I'm going to go ahead and create each layer for these three items that you see here. So 20 will be one layer, percentage sign will be another layer, and then the off will be the third layer. So let's do the 20 first. Let's grab this type tool and then click somewhere in the box here. And let's type 20. And the font that I use is Gotham Bold. And if you don't have this font, you can choose any other font that you like. I'm going to change the color to white. Click OK. And let's change the size to something bigger. 95. I think it's too big. Let's go 93. Because I want some space here for the percentage sign and then the off. I think that looks pretty good. And then we can always come back here and reposition the number here. Let's go ahead and click OK. And next, let's do the percentage sign. So let's click here again. And then percent sign. Change the color to white. And then let's just scale this down. And click and drag. Let's see, it's 70? No. 55? Looks pretty good. Okay, click OK. And then another way to do this is instead of clicking a new layer here, just duplicate this layer. Just click and then drag it to this layer icon here that you see, and it will duplicate a copy. And what this will do is it will keep the white color so that I don't have to keep going back and change the color to white. You know, it's already set for me here, and all I have to do is click the type tool and then click over the percent sign and just change that to off. And I'm going to change that from Gotham Bold to Gotham Book. And let's change the size. Okay. I think 30. It's pretty good there. Click OK. Now that we're done with that section, let's go ahead and do this title here. It says Pet Safe Gentle Spray Bark Control Pet Training System. So let's go and click the type tool again. And let's copy the, not copy, let's type the first line, Pet Safe Gentle Spray. Pet Safe Gentle Spray. And then the next line is Bark Control Pet. Bark Control Pet. And then the last line is Training System. Okay, let's just change this to white. And let's go ahead and scale this down. It's too big right now. Okay. I think also we can change the font to bold. Okay, somewhere there. Click OK. Now that we're done with this section here, we can reposition this to where we want. So let's move the Pet Gentle Spray down a little bit. Select the Move tool, and then you can hit the down arrow button. Let's move to left. I just want to center everything a little bit better. That's why. And then let's go to the 20. Now, quick little tip here. Instead of clicking the down arrow once, what you can do is it only moves it by 1 pixels when you do that, right? By holding down the Shift key and then pressing down the down arrow, it moves it about, I think, like 5 to 10 pixels at a time, which is a little bit easier. So I'm going to move it down little bit here. Maybe one more. Let's go back up. Move it to the left a little bit. And then the percent sign, move to the left. Okay. Let's just center a little better. And then the off. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect for this. That looks pretty good. So next, let's create this red rectangle and then the shop now text. So let's click this marquee tool. If you remember, we still at aspect ratio for the constraint. Let's change that to no restriction. And let's click and drag here to about right there. Looks pretty good. Okay. And my layer window disappeared. If that happens to you, go to View and then click Layers. It should come back, as you can see right here. And I'm going to create a new layer and call this one Red Rectangle. And then let's click set the main color for this to red. Okay. And then select the paint bucket tool and then fill it in. Next, let's click the type tool and let's type shop now and change the color to white. And let's increase the size. Okay, 33. Okay, 33 looks pretty good. Click OK. Alright, so there you have that. Okay, so there you have it. Now what we need to do is save this image. So I'm going to save it to my computer. To do that, all you have to do is go to File, Save, and let's give it a name. And let's call it Slideshow. Oops. Slideshow image. And for the quality, I'm just going to leave it at 80. And you don't want this to be 100%, you know, because we don't want the file size to be too big. Right now it's 101 kilobytes here, as you can see here. If I increase this to like 100, it goes up to 521, right? That's too big. So let's change that to 80. Another thing is you don't want it to be too small because you lose the image quality, which is something that you don't want. So 80 is pretty good. And for the file format, we're going to keep it at JPEG. Now let's go ahead and click OK. And then you can just save it to your desktop. One other thing I forgot to mention is that if you want to retain all these layers, you want to save it as a pixel file. So go to File, Save, and make sure you change the format to layered pixel image. And what that would do is it would save all the layers that you see here. As opposed to JPEG, it will basically compress all the layers into a single layer, which means you won't be able to come back to that file and edit. But by going to the layered pixel image, you will retain all the layers so that you can come back and edit anytime. Okay? So in the next lecture, I'm going to be uploading the slideshow image plus the other images that we created in this section.